Good morning. I'm meteorologist Kevin Smith here again at the National Weather Service in Pocatello with your weather hazard briefing for Thursday, July 14th. This is going to look very similar to yesterday. So, key points for the week here. Heat continues across southeast Idaho. High temperatures expected to reach about 90 to 98 degrees today for almost all of our lower elevation and valley population centers. We're going to be running very similar to what we saw yesterday, perhaps just a degree or two cooler, but still quite warm up in the mid-90s for most locations. So we encourage you to continue practicing heat safety and watch out for signs of heat-related illness today. Also expecting more thunderstorms. Also very similar to yesterday, another round of isolated to scattered, potentially strong thunderstorms is expected this afternoon and evening. Looking through our high-res models, we think the best timing, the most favorable timing for that thunderstorm activity is going to be from about 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. And also, similar to yesterday, lightning and gusty winds over 50 miles an hour will be the primary threats with the stronger storms today. A little bit lower threat of hail, but we did see a couple reports of pea to dime size hail yesterday in a few of the cells, and we are expecting that to potentially occur again today. We're going to carbon copy this for Friday. The heat will continue, another round of afternoon thunderstorms. We may see a break in the thunderstorms on Saturday, so if you're looking for a potentially drier day, Saturday looks like the best candidate out of the next few. However, heat is expected to continue into next week. We're really still not seeing signs of breaking out of that pattern anytime soon. Weather risk outlook here for the week. We are lit up with a moderate risk today because of the potential of a few of those strong thunderstorms across the region. And as we go forward, we're really looking at three hazards for the various geographic areas here. We have heat running around out there. We have some breezy conditions for some areas on some days, as outlined here. And we also have those thunderstorms. You can see Saturday here, really the simplest day. Continued heat for some of our lower elevation areas, particularly across the south. A little breezy in the central mountains, but other than that, looking a bit drier compared to all of its neighbors. And then continued heat, increased breezy conditions as we go into Sunday and Monday, with some additional chances of thunderstorms, at least in some of our mountain areas. Taking a look at the region this morning for weather alerts, we do have a red flag warning that we have issued here across southern portions of southeast Idaho, generally along and south of the interstate corridor. This is for scattered thunderstorm coverage and that lightning risk as we go through the afternoon and evening today. Red flag warnings also remain in effect for portions of Nevada, along with an excessive heat warning as you head down into Utah. Satellite this morning, very similar to yesterday, fairly clear across most of the Pacific Northwest here, but we're waking up to pretty warm temperatures across a large portion of southeast Idaho. The atmosphere is also just a little on the moist side, particularly in the mid-levels. There are a few clouds and a few sprinkles running around out there. Not expecting anything terribly impactful until we get to that thunderstorm period later this afternoon with the heating of the day and the instability building. But it's going to be another one of those mornings. It's going to feel just a little on the warm side, maybe a little more moist than we're used to here for summer in southeast Idaho. Taking a look at the lightning we saw yesterday, this just tries to pick up on cloud-to-ground strikes, and really we had two corridors that the models were favoring for convection. One was up here kind of near the Montana border area, eastern portions of the Central Mountains, and you can see we certainly saw a fair amount of lightning up there. Another was this area from Cassia County northeast across the southern highlands and then up into Caribou County toward Driggs, and a pretty good corridor of lightning in there as well, but notice there were strikes in other areas, such as the Snake Plain, also down here towards Soda Springs and Preston. So as we were cautioning you yesterday, when we look at the models, we're going to look at one here again for this afternoon's activity. Everyone across southeast Idaho does have a risk of seeing a nearby thunderstorm at some point during the afternoon and evening. So no one should let their guard down, even with the models sometimes favoring one or two particular corridors across our forecast area. So just like we did yesterday, let's take a look at this afternoon, and this is one of the many different hourly high-res models we get to look at here in the office. We always caution you, don't get too caught up in exactly where a thunderstorm is developing on this model because every model's a little different. What we're looking for is the general timing, the general flavor of the model as far as placement of thunderstorms today. As we kick things off at 1 p.m., might just be starting to see the first few radar echoes here. This is simulated radar off the model. This is what the radar could look like. As we get out to this time step, you can see up toward Chalice and Stanley, just a few echoes starting to pop up. You can see maybe even a little storm down here as you go into eastern Wyoming. So we think right around 1 p.m. is going to be our earliest initiation time for the first few showers and thunderstorms of the day. Step forward to 2 o'clock and bam, we have a lot more activity starting to fire. Here's that northern corridor of activity here across the central mountains headed up toward Monida Pass that is favored for thunderstorms. Once again, some storms firing off the terrain here down south of Twin Falls into Cache County as well. So again, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, looking for things to take off. As we advance to 3 p.m., and then 4 p.m., you can see that activity expanding, still favoring that corridor from the Central Mountains up toward West Yellowstone, and also the terrain here just south of I-86 and down into Cache County. But you can see a few little dots and echoes elsewhere as well. Again, don't let your guard down. There may be some isolated showers and thunderstorms just about anywhere by this time across the forecast area. 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, we continue to generally trend that activity east. By this time, the model's even picking up on some activity in the Snake Plain. We certainly saw that yesterday. We may see that again this afternoon. And then by 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock, you can see drying out from west to east. Still have some shower and thunderstorm activity here in eastern portions of the forecast area, particularly east of I-15. By the time we get to about 9 o'clock or so, there may be a stray storm or a stray shower out there, but generally, I think about 8 o'clock is the consensus off the models for things really shutting down and most of the forecast area returning to quieter and dry conditions, still mild as we head into this evening. Severe weather outlook today. We're outlined for general thunder, again, just about everywhere. Just like yesterday, best chance of severe weather is going to, as you go northeast up here into Montana, and you can see the shading for a marginal risk is intruding a little bit into Island Park. That said, we did see a few isolated severe thunderstorms further south yesterday, right down into the Snake Plain and even near Pocatello. So I think we're going to see a repeat performance today. The atmosphere looks like it's quite capable of producing gusty winds in particular, so do bear that in mind that a few storms may be on the strong side. High temperatures today, again, very similar to yesterday, maybe a degree or two cooler. For the most part, it's not going to make a big difference as far as what you're feeling and experiencing out there. 90s expected for just about the entire area. Of course, places like Stanley and Island Park checking in the 80s, normally just a little cooler there in the mountains. For fire weather partners, here's a look at our wind gusts this afternoon here on the left, and our minimum relative humidity values here on the right. Just like we've been saying for days here, we do have some territory just about every day where wind gusts are getting close or meeting what we call critical thresholds for fire weather. Seeing the same with some of those RHs too, but you know, your area covered by these elements is going to vary just a little bit every day, and we still have zones out there where not all of the fuels have fully dried out and become what we call critical. That's information we continue to check in with our fire weather partners on a daily basis. So as far as a consideration for red flag warnings, that's something to bear in mind, that we're waiting for fuels to fully dry out for some areas. Stepping into Friday, repeat performance, general thunder risk across just about the entire forecast area once again. Severe weather risk greatest as you go northeast into Montana, but we'll be evaluating what the atmosphere looks like it wants to do as we go into Friday, and I suspect gusty winds will again be on the docket. High temperatures on Friday remaining very steady here, a few 80s in the mountains, but generally about 90 to 98 degrees. Down through most of our lower elevation population centers, including the Snake Plain, Eastern Magic Valley, and Raft River, areas that normally check in with the warmest readings. A little bit breezier out there. Wind gusts again here on the left for Friday afternoon, along with low relative humidity values, about 10 to 15% on Friday afternoon in portions of the Central Mountains, although fuels aren't quite critical there, and also into the INL, Arco Desert region in Eastern Magic Valley. You can see some wind gusts here too, over 30 miles an hour, particularly across the Central Mountains. Let's head into the weekend. So Saturday, remember, this is our potentially drier day. We're going to see how everything continues to trend. Right now, we're calling for a dry forecast for just about everyone, as shown here. High temperatures, though, not giving up. Saturday, we may even gain a degree or two. You can see Shoshone nearing 100 degrees for their afternoon high. Very similar in Twin Falls. 98 over here into Pocatello. 91 even down toward Montpelier. So still continued very warm out there. And continued breezy and dry as far as those wind gusts and minimum relative humidity values for Saturday afternoon. One more day here as we round out the weekend. Sunday, temperatures still into the 90s. Very little change across the region as far as that heat. The pattern continues. We'll introduce a chance of a few more showers and thunderstorms out there, at least in the mountains on Sunday. And you can see gusty winds and fairly dry conditions for those relative humidities continue for the region. I lied. One more day. We'll look at Monday as well here. A little bit of a hint. Maybe we're going to have a slightly cooler afternoon Monday. You can see temperatures currently forecast to range from the upper 80s into the lower 90s. A little bit better than some of the upper 90 readings that we've seen here for the past few days, but still quite warm out there and a little bit above normal for this time of year as far as temperatures go Monday, and potentially windier. We are forecasting wind gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour across better real estate here on Monday, and a little bit of overlap there with some of those critically low relative humidity values. So certainly a day we'll be watching on the fire weather front. And that's our summary for our hazards here over the next few days across southeast Idaho. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, remember we are here 24/7 at the Weather Forecast Office in Pocatello. You can reach out via phone or email. Visit our website at weather.gov/Pocatello for a forecast for your town. And we are on social media as well, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Everybody have a great Thursday.